Welcome to Assistant on Air. This season, we're chatting with designers and developers who created games for smart displays. I'm Leon, and I'm your host for today. I'm a developer relations engineer for the Google Assistant. In today's episode, we're joined by Andrezza, the creative director at MediaMonks, who led the creative elements behind the game Cookie Detective. Welcome, Andrezza.
Hi, Leon. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be part of this episode.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Andrezza Valentin from MediaMonks LA, and I'm the creative director behind both assistant games, Cookie Detective and Junior Chef, which my colleague Richard will talk about in another episode. I also grew up playing video games. My father worked in a company that imported the first Atari and Nintendo to Brazil. So gaming was always a huge interest of mine, and having the opportunity to be part of a project where we would be using a new gaming technology, which is voice, was super exciting and fun for me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun for us to work together on the project. So tell us, what is Cookie Detective?
Sure. So Cookie Detective is a take on hide and seek and 21 questions as a voice-first game. So the premise of the game is to invite kids to use their imagination and memory by asking questions to locate a hidden cookie within 3 different kitchens with different levels of complexity. So the idea of searching for cookies in the kitchen was based on the fact that voice devices are often placed in common areas of people tend to congregate. And the focus of the kitchen was because this is the most frequented area in the house and usually where people place their devices, and the context where the kids would normally play this, with this game. Perhaps an adult is cooking and they're actually on a hunt for a real cookie.
Yes, the fact that multiple people can play the game at the same time on a smart display is a unique capability. Now, I love the onboarding experience for the game. It's a great example of how voice and visuals go hand in hand.
Yes, the Cookie Detective mechanic, it's all about kids asking the right questions about the hiding spot in the kitchens to find a mischievous cookie. So we needed to use the onboarding to teach the little players how to ask the questions using deductive reasoning and also descriptive attributes like names and color about the possible hiding spots. And we also introduced the rules of the game, which is you only have 10 maximum questions before you can find a cookie, and then different incremental levels of difficulty. The onboarding is also where everyone meets for the first time, so players and characters learn how to play together. We rely on the character's voice also to reveal their personality and help us set the tone. We wanted kids to feel comfortable about asking questions and show to them that they would always get a fun reply. So we would reinforce a positive pattern of behavior.
Yeah, and having a strong persona in the game really takes it to the next level. Now, the game has lots of helpful elements to make it intuitive and enjoyable, from the suggestion chips to outlining the hiding spots on each level, and there's lots of hiding spots in this game. So how did you accommodate all the attributes for the various hiding spots?
So all the 3 kitchens shares the same hiding spots, but each one of them has its own level of difficulty. So as part of the gameplay learning curve, we organized the object tree based on the numbers of hiding spots with similar attributes. So it's basically a funnel mechanism where you have to ask more accurate and strategic questions to find the right hiding spot before you run out of chances. So if you ask, are you hiding somewhere dark, and you have multiple spots with the same attribute, the player won't get any insightful tips about where the cookie is hiding. And also the level of difficulty increases as the player progresses in the game. For example, on level 3, we introduce new hiding spots, but with fewer attributes, sometimes 1 or 2. So making it more difficult to be for the players to guess. So they have to be very specific on their questions to find the correct answer. And we created a relationship between the kitchen items, so we could also make the interactivity more conversational and closer to natural language.
Yeah, it's the conversational aspects that make this game challenging, and I must admit, I don't always win the game. Now, another interesting aspect of this game is the use of touch. In Cookie Detective, touching or tapping the smart display is used as a kind of a secondary helpful element. Can you talk about that?
Sure. I think this is one of the key differences as a voice-first game. Cookie Detective was created for the Google Assistant Smart Display, which is a voice assistant device with a touch screen. However, the screen in our game has a secondary role, acting more as a support of the gameplay, which is primarily controlled by voice. The use of touch and tap was very intentional and purposeful. For example, at the beginning of the Cookie Detective, we have touch as an alternative to voice for the second player. It could be an adult, a friend that wants to hide a cookie in the kitchen, but without revealing to the first player where the cookie is hidden. And another intentional use of touch is the suggestion chips. Players can also play the game by tapping on the suggestion chips at the bottom right corner of the screen.
Yeah, sometimes I'm grasping for ideas, and then the suggestion chips come quite handy. Now let's talk about the visuals. The 3 levels are really beautifully and creatively designed.
Thank you. Yes, we had a lot of fun with the design, especially when it comes to the rooms. Our ideas was to use the same environment setup of the kitchen, but change the theme throughout the levels. So the game starts with a kitchen that is closer to the real one, so the little players have a sense of familiarity and connection. But once they're fully immersed on the gameplay, then we start taking them to more fantastical setup, making the experience more fun and playful. We also use some visual devices like outlines around objects to ease the players into the game narrative. And we start with with all the hiding spots actually highlighted by the outlines. But as the level of difficulty increases, those outlines disappears, and the players have to rely only on their memory to remember all the previous questions and deduct the remaining possible hiding spots.
Yeah, the winning and the losing screens are also great. When you lose, you see this little mouse. I guess it's the arch nemesis of the game, and it's scampering around. But when you win, your cookie friend actually invites you to do the cookie dance. And I love how you've included like the physical real life aspects with the digital part of the game.
Yeah, I love the cookie dance too. So the connection between real life and digital world was essential to us because we wanted to create a sense of joy and delight that could be shared with the whole family.
Andrezza, thank you so much for joining us today. Often we think something looks great, but we don't really deep dive into all the intentional details that make it so polished. So it's really great to hear you talk about this.
Leon, thanks for having me and letting me share the Cookie Detective story and hopefully inspire other people to create other voice-first games experiences.
All right. I hope you've enjoyed Andrezza's insights on the voice and visual elements of building a smart display game. Now, if you want to test your own detective skills, play Cookie Detective and other games we are promoting in this series. I'm going to get myself a cookie in the kitchen. Thanks for watching.